Hello, a big welcome to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Gina, owner, operator, and creator of Present Moment Hypnotherapy International. Welcome to PMHI Passions. This is a safe space created for folks who would like to share their stories, and not just any story, their personal experience with high strangeness, personal experience with ritual work. And it's okay if you don't have your ritual work figured out. Just sharing what you're testing out is totally appropriate. I'm interested to hear that. And when I say high strangeness, yes, I mean anything from Bigfoot to ET sightings, angel ET, you tell me, an interesting dream. Maybe you swear it wasn't a dream, you were in some other dimension. I'm going with the flow. I am using and honoring your biology of belief. So if you say angel, that's what I'm saying. If you say ET, that's what I'm saying too. You never have to worry about verifying or validating anything that you do say. I am asking folks to show their face and to use their real name. Please send me a Facebook message. My Facebook name is Titanium Rooster. And let's set a time and date. I meet with folks Mondays at 1:30. And you'll see on my Facebook group, Present Moment Hypnotherapy International, there's Mondays posted in the pinned section that you can have a look at and PM me. I don't have the 2004 Mondays posted yet. However, if there's a 2004 Monday that you really want, send me a PM at Titanium Rooster. PMHI Passions is unscripted, unedited, and guests are asked to just make a little bit of notes. So there's a beginning, middle, and end to what story it is that you're sharing. And guests have about 20 to 25-ish minutes. And thankfully, Zoom will give me a 10 minutes warning. So my guest today couldn't make it. You're stuck with me. Hopefully that's a good thing. And today I wanted to share with you a little bit about my ritual clipboard and just everyday tools that I use. So I'll just lower the monitor here so you can see. So I have this clipboard, and as you can see, there's some, it could be toothpicks, but what happened is I like to have incense. And then after I burn it, whatever is left over, reduce, reuse, recycle, I thought I could use that as my prayer sticks. I use it for fire ceremony. I don't want to go into the details how I use it. I just want to show it to you. And I was working with power animals, and it was really special for me because all of the sudden I was working with eagle condor, and it was like all of the sudden this just transformed into eagle condor. And if you take a close look, just like an eagle claws, it's yellow, representative of the claw part, and then it's black on the tips, of course, from me burning it. However, I just thought this is really cool representation. So it's like there's eagle condor claws here, fingertips. And so when I'm doing my prayer work, my fire ceremony, I embed that into whatever it is I'm casting out to the universe. Fire ceremony can just be me asking for something. It could be me giving thanks and praise for something. And again, not going in, excuse me, to the details of the fire ceremony, but just sharing with you a tool. And so all of a sudden, this tool became really special to me. And then again, I was working with the power animals, and I was feeling intimidated. I thought, you know what, full disclosure, I don't have money to be spending on tools. And my understanding is any shaman that's out there, they are the actual tool. Their body, mind, spirit, they're the tool. So you don't actually need any tools anyway. The tools are just there to help facilitate what you're doing, to help you imagine, to help with that biology of belief. That's the biology of belief I have. And so before I went out and dropped a bunch of money on special rattles and whatnot to work with snake, it dawned on me, and that's the magic. Did I have a thought, or did the thought have me? And I'm telling you, a lot of thoughts are having me these days. And so I mean, there's lots of things you can use for a rattlesnake sound or to make the sound of sand. There's lots of arts and crafts you can do. But again, it just dawned on me that this is actually also my rattle. And so if I want to shake it lightly or more heavily, I can, and I'll just do that for you now. Right? Hail the biological one known as Gina. Again, I'm not going to go into the details about all of this, just wanted to share my clipboard. And so that's one of my rattles. Another rattle I have is right here, my gemstones. You know, here I was stressed out about resources. There's another rattle for you. The very pens and pencil crayons that I use to write with when I'm scribing in my dream journal. There's another rattle for you, my necklace. You know, and so hummingbird comes to mind because hummingbird is representative of carrying all your high quality items forward. And all of my Miss Casella items, high quality items, creativity, having a lack of resources, using what's available are all really coming through now with my new career as a hypnotherapist. And I'm really excited to share it with you. Okay, so clearly it's easy to slip into timelessness with me. So I'm back to the focus on my clipboard. So this clipboard, this is always on it. So I've got my rattle / prayer sticks. The gemstones aren't usually on it, but they're always with me. And same with the my writing tools, coloring tools. I have a candle that I burn. And then this is handy just for garbage. It's an old candle holder. And so for safety's sake, sometimes when I'm doing fire ceremony, some pieces are a bit drier than others and I drop it. It just burns a bit too fast. So having this wooden clipboard also keeps me safe. So I'm not just on my bed accidentally lighting my sheets on fire. It's important this clipboard stays clean and that there are no fire hazards on it. And having said that, I like this clipboard because it's nice and sturdy. It's a wooden clipboard. The incense is always here. And I like to have a plant. And I was working with dragon energy and I picked up somewhere that dragons like basil. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. And I personally don't care. Again, it's based on the biology of belief. This is my personal biology of belief. So I'm super inspired by Ted Andrews. You take something and you make it your own. And so that's what I did. I heard an idea that dragons like basil, and now I'm making it my own. And again, falling back on hummingbird, carrying my high quality items forward. I never heard about the late Ted Andrews until a few years ago. And in my entire teaching career, I was actually doing what Ted Andrew does. I was telling the students to borrow ideas from each other and then build on them and then make it your own. So it just goes really hand in hand with what I'm doing today. Just a little side story. In my class, I taught a lot of kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2, and we would do journals every day. We would have quiet time. We'd listen to quiet music. It was just a really nice downtime, and the kids would draw pictures, and they would have a weekly journal. So from Monday to Friday, they would go back and build on whatever picture it was or whatever story they were working on. I think the best work was probably the grade 2s because there was a little bit of writing and pictures to go with it and really getting developed by the time Friday came rolling around. You know, we don't give kids enough time to color that big blue sky, to color the big green field. And so it was a really valued time in class for our own personal reflective practice while we were self-regulating, taking this quiet time. And it also gave students who required medication and that kind of stuff time to do that behind the scenes so they wouldn't have to worry about missing anything. And it was a nice transition back for them. And there's always something going on at recess. And so if I needed to problem solve, then that was a good time to do that with students. But a point to be made is that each day after quiet time, we would go on a gallery walk. And so we would just walk around the classroom checking out other people's work. And some kids would be upset because other kids would copy them. And I would explain to them that they're borrowing your idea essentially because one of two reasons. One, they really like your idea and they want to copy you with the intention of building on it. Or perhaps they're lacking in creativity and they just really don't know where to start. And when they look at your picture, they think it's a cool picture. And the kids really get into it. Kids who sat side beside each other, one person would draw and then the other person would like copy. And it became like a silent, nonverbal drawing lesson because during quiet time, of course, you're not allowed to talk. And it was also a great way for me to spend some time assessing students. It's easy for me to slip into timelessness with you. And it's also easy for me to make connections to what I do now as a hypnotherapist to my career as a public school teacher. So, okay, so the clipboard is also representative of me and my day plan and Miss Casella, all the high quality items I bring forward. Colleagues of mine know me. I'm quite organized. I like having my clipboard. Early in my career, having a thicker book to write on, that got old fast. So I'm known for having a clipboard. I'm known for having a day plan. And this clipboard has become really special to me. So I like having flowers, some kind of water element, and to represent all the elementals, the earth, the air, the fire, the water. The earth isn't represented in here, whatever. Again, I'm the tool, so I'm the earth. Inside, I wasn't expecting this, but I've got a nice root that's growing. And really, when I first put this little basil leaf in here, I just thought it would dry up and shrivel. And I totally wasn't expecting it to grow like it was. And so I'm just going to keep this going for as long as it needs to go. So there's a lot of writing on my clipboard. It used to be nice and clean, and that was representative of having a clean blank piece of paper. And anyone who's had me as a teacher, one of the mottos I always say, the best worksheet is a blank piece of paper. No lines, completely blank, no words, because kids, some of them start with words, some of them start with pictures, some of them just start with making curvy lines. We talk about folding the page in half, folding it once, twice, dividing the page up into different quadrants. There's the front, the back, just organizing information, because when you organize your storyboard, you organize your paragraphs into ideas, and then you're able to tether a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so when I'm doing my dream ritual work, it's me waking up in the morning and I light my candle, I get the incense going, I have some meditation music playing. For the last 2 years, I've been listening to Tara Wilde's Singing the Ancestors every morning. And depending what month it is, that's the theme I listen to for the month. And sometimes seasonally up here, it's not in sync with the world around me. And so right now, for example, it's the theme of the water, the divine feminine. And even though that's the emphasis, I feel like I'm back in the late winter type themes with manifesting seeds and the warrior archetype, because I'm really persevering and also celebrating the upcoming season of dreams as I say goodbye to the biological ones known as flowers. So this clipboard is seasonal. When I first started writing on it, I thought, okay, it needs to be perfect and it's going to help me remember special things I want to say or keep in mind. At one point, I thought I was just going to sand it and restart over. I've accidentally spilt candle wax on it, coffee, I've spilt alcohol on it. And now I just accept it as the collage that it is. And if I have something that I want to really remember, I'll write it with black permanent marker. Even that is fading. on a different PMHI Passions, I can share with you more detail about some of the stuff it says. I just wanted to share with you today what tools I have. And as you can see, they're not much. And that's the power. The power is truly in its simplicity. And even if somebody gifted me a really fancy rattle with gemstones on it, I think I'm really happy with this one, and it means a lot to me. And I like that I had the confidence I was lacking initially to empower myself, giving such meaning, profound meaning to everyday items around the house. So I'm just going to put this clipboard to the side now. Oh, and another reason I like it is because I can pick it up and move it along because it's sturdy. I can relocate it easily. It usually stays in the same place all the time. But you know what, with company coming over, which isn't often, just general cleaning, I need to make sure that this candle can burn in a safe location, and I need to make sure that if I need to wipe it clean, I can. And sometimes, depending on the temperature of the room or how I'm playing at home, I relocate this with me. So my bedroom is also known as the Jaguar's Cave, which is where I usually do this. But I often will take it into the living room, which is pretend Manus's library. And Manus is the master scriber, a version of my higher self. And so sometimes just for fun, but also during those darker times, I go visit Manus, if you will, in the living room, which is the master library, and we sit down together and do this. And sometimes Manus comes into the Jaguar's Cave. He's always with me. All my spirit guides are always with me. But it's that form of play and playing with the queen archetype, designating roles. And so I've let a lot go and just leaving it to Manus. And when I'm stuck in my head, that's when I go into the Jaguar's Cave, into my bedroom, and I do a lot of deep reflective practice there. Again, clearly it's easy for me to slip into timelessness. I really could just go on and on and on about my clipboard. Emphasis, there's nothing fancy to it. And if you're going to do ritual work, especially involving fire, candles, please don't ever kid yourself. Accidents happen too fast. And I know this sounds bizarre, but I'm not going to worry about that on a show like PMHI Passions, but pet safety. Rosie, my cat, it's not often, but every now and then she'll come stand right over top of my clipboard, right over the candle, and I can smell her fur singeing. You know, like, okay, if that's your way of getting attention, but it's just a point to be made. What about if I was in the bathroom and she went and did that? You know, there's been a few occasions where she's just tossing her mouse toy. You never know, it could end up in the fire. So we always have to practice safety, and we don't want the fires to be very big. They don't need to be, they just need to be one flame. One flame is just as powerful as a big giant bonfire. And if you're doing ritual work at home with fires, with bonfires, or maybe you have a fireplace at home, just to remember safety, always keep it in mind. Loose clothing, that kind of stuff. There's a few times where I just had this burning desire to go close to the flame with my face, and close my eyes and just do like some meditative practice. And I've mindfully had to pull my hair back and make sure I'm not wearing loose clothes, and really honoring the heat that I'm feeling so I don't actually singe my eyelashes or my eyebrows. And you might laugh listening to this, but I'm speaking from experience. And so I don't actually personally hear a lot of folks discussing safety when they're doing their ritual work. So that's what I like to do. Okay, so moving on, I'm just going to scooch my clipboard over here. Okay, just out of reach. Okay, so my clipboard is off to the side. Nothing's going to catch on fire. And just also plants that might be hanging and shelves. A lot of people keep their candles in the shelf, like a bookshelf, but when you light it, if you look at the top, it's actually blackening and it's a fire hazard that you're creating. So just check the spaces, take your candle out of the shelf before you burn it. Just really be mindful. Okay, so here's my tools that I write with. As you can see, there's nothing fancy about them. I have an eraser that I don't use often. I've owned this for, I don't know, 10 years, and it's only a few years ago I noticed this was inside a sharpener. The reason I keep this is just if I'm actually trying to make it a point to draw a picture of something. I don't like to erase very often because the whole point is to go with that subconscious thinking. So if I drew something or if I put the wrong letter or the wrong number, grabbed the wrong coloring tool, that might have actually been intentional on a subconscious level. So I don't always want to be too quick to scratch it out or erase it, although it's handy to have an eraser. I've just got some pencil sharpeners just in case. This one is regular size. This one's a little bit bigger. Personally, I like the bigger, thicker pencil crayons. Crayons, I like the waxy texture. I just find I'm a little rough with them and they break on me. And fine motor skills has never been my thing. It's painful in my hand. And so in kindergarten, grade 1, these thicker pencil crayons and pencils are a lot more popular because it helps with the fine motor. And I always advocate this size is for any age, any age. And a lot of parents, the students that I've had have felt a sense of relief and have given the odd pencil away to parents because they get what I'm saying about the hand hurting. You got to be comfortable doing your work. And for what it's worth, these aren't even natural tools. The real natural tool is us hand painting, sculpting things, working with fractal geometry to make things. And coloring would be something that we would do this with. We would grab like plants and hay or whatever and mix it with fruit to get whatever color we want, mud, and then we just take it and paint it. And so this is not natural. And so keep that in mind when you're doing your ritual work. You might want to make the switch over and be creative, going back to the ancestral ways of knowing. So, okay, I've got different colors, just all the colors of the rainbow. And whenever I'm using the color black, I often tend to use the color purple. And initially I was frustrated by that. And over time in my dream journal, I started to notice that certain colors represented certain archetypes, and sometimes they're blended together. So I would just be like writing with my pen. I like to use purple, but purple, I find I run out of the purple pens, and then I'll use green. I like purple just because it's that dreamy color. I like green. It is hard to see though. But I like it just because it's different from blue or black. Blue or black are colors I always write with. And often I have blue just because, like I said, these two, there's not as many in the pack of pens that I write. I used to use pencil, but it fades away way too fast. So in years from now, I'm not going to care so much, but for what it's worth, reflecting on my dream journal for the next few years, going back, it's really handy to be able to read your information over and find these patterns, like patterns of color, which on a separate PMHI Passions, I'll give you more insight to that. So I also write with pink a lot because pink is not a color that I write with often, and it just helps like that dreamy effect. But sometimes I would just, for example, grab the color orange and I'd start writing in orange. Like, what's up with that? Well, upon reflection and looking at patterns, there's an archetype that presents themselves, and it's like that message is from that archetype if I'm using orange. Now, sometimes I use the color orange just because I'm coloring something orange and there's nothing special about it. It's just orange. It's plain and simple. However, I am developing my own schema and a biology belief to work with my guides. So orange is the color for Amanda, who is the goldfish that dances on land. Arguably, it could be the Archangel Michael. And that's all that comes to mind for the color orange at this time. The color purple, that is my dragon honey. So my dragon is actually, I thought my dragon was black, but my dragon is not black. You see, that's why I kept reaching for the purple. My dragon is a dark, very extremely, extraordinarily dark purple. So dark purple that my dragon looks black. Because my dragon, when you think about the yin yang, there's the black side and the white side, and my dragon is from the black side, the black family, if you will. And it doesn't mean white like black and white skin color. It means duality, like the shadows and the light. So this is, again, my biology of belief, and I can talk about my own yin yang duality belief on a different PMHI. So purple is my dragon, and my purple dragon, like I said, is so dark purple that he looks black. And of course, all these archetypes are higher selves, higher versions of me. And the color purple also representative of that veil. So there's no doors, there's just veils, curtains that we can weave in and out of through to visit other dimensions, realities. And it's also representative of here on planet Earth, when that black sky is transitioning into the daylight, turns purple, and then it transitions into the daylight, the purple veil is lifted, if you will. So those were really cool connections for me to make. These connections didn't happen overnight. The color red, this is representative of the 3D blood biologicals here on this planet. So if you have red blood, this is you. And somebody told me that blood is actually blue and it turns red once it gets oxygenized. I'm not sure, but technicalities aside, if you cut yourself and you're bleeding red blood, that means that's what this is representative of. The color red means you're from this planet. And whether you're a hybrid or not, separate conversation, but it's talking about this planet in particular. It also represents the big red bow. So being thankful for so many things. I draw red bows all over the place. Sometimes it's raining red, but it's representative of raining red bows, not red blood, you know? And so the color red doesn't really mean much, but at the same time, that little that it means a lot, because in my dream journal, I'm always advocating for the biological ones, known as whatever your name is, because without the biological ones, spirit can't do its work. I also have the color blue. This is representative of the blue bloods. So I work with a rainbow spectrum of folks, and on a different planet, I don't exactly have it figured out yet, but on some other planet dimension, there's folks just like us, but they're a different species. And if you cut them open, they bleed blue blood. So they're the blue blood beings. There's also the blue avians. They're like these bird folks. There's also the blue beings. The blue beings freaked me out a handful of years ago. They basically showed up in my bedroom. I couldn't see them. I just really felt their energy. And I knew they weren't going to hurt me, but they were like insisting for their food, their paycheck. And so I believe these could be egregores that I created. And the way it works is when I feed the blue beings my fears and my worries, whether it's financial concerns, social emotional concerns, physical concerns, I just give it all to them and they gobble, gobble, gobble it up and they digest it and then they give it back to me. And what they give back is fearlessness. So it's a beautiful color that I work with for transformation. And when I was developing my channeling skills, and I'm still developing those skills, randomly I have fallen back on the color blue, and I'll tell people that I'm working with, think of the color blue and meet me there, find me in the blue spectrum. And so there's some kind of family ghosty ancestral connection with me in the blue, and I really like that. The blue beings, I'm not sure what they look like, but I represent them as the sky, the blue sky when I'm drawing pictures. On that note, I also have silver or gray, and this is for the seagulls. So the seagulls are usually represented as gray birds, just like that M shape, or they're the clouds in the sky, and they work with the blue beings. And the seagulls, they gobble up more insecurities and they transform it back to me. They specifically gobble up any feelings I have of guilt or shame, and they, just like the blue beings, digest it and give it back to me so that I can live my life honorably, guilt-free, shame-free. Negative thought patterns that haunt me, they don't mean to haunt me. It's just the mind's number one job is to protect us. And so every now and then, when I have some kind of negative thought pattern, the seagulls will chime in, reminding me that, oh, they've already gobbled that up and given it back to me in a different form. And once something transforms, you can't go back. And so working with the seagulls and the blue beings has been very powerful. The color gold, I read the book, The Sophia Code, and the author, Kyra Ra, speaks about these golden dragons known as the Sophia tribe. And I thought, whoa, that's a cool connection, because I was already developing my dragon tribe. And so my dragon is from the purple spectrum, and I'm working with the biology of belief that the Sophia dragons, the divine feminine energy, and ascended masters are the color gold. Now, the color gold and yellow for me in my dream work, I use them simultaneously. Sometimes I'll mix yellow and orange to make that color gold. And my dragon is purple. There's different colors mixed in him, and he has a gold tail. And there's more to say about my dragon, but I just wanted to go through these colors with you quickly. Okay, so oh, and here's the color green representative of hummingbird, all my high quality items that I carry forward with me. The color green is also representative of my inner mermaid. So when I'm working with hummingbird or my inner mermaid, it's the color green that I use a lot. In a past life, I was this lizard lady. I used to take eyeballs. I know it was a form of communication. And at that time in this lifetime, that was disturbingly not appropriate, but I'll have to tell you that story another time. It was a way for me to change perspective that needed to be changed. And a reminder to everyone that when you're doing past life regression and working with your past selves, that it's not always beautiful stories. And it had to do with me standing up for what I believe in and I ended up becoming all the things that I hated. And I had this pearl necklace, and one day it dawned on me that, oh my gosh, these are eyeballs. And then it all came back to me. And so again, I'll have to tell you more of that on a different PMHI passion. So hummingbird, high quality items, inner mermaid, and this lizard lady who is quite fierce in a positive way. There is also the color brown, representative of Toby. I go by Gina Toby often. Toby is my dominant spirit guide who often presents himself in the form of a tree. It's typically a tree where the colors change and fall, and depending on what's going on, Toby might transform into one of those trees biologically here on this planet to connect with me, or Toby might take the form of an evergreen tree. So when I'm writing with the color brown, I think about Toby a lot. Toby's also connected to all of the weavers, representative of tree roots and representative of the branches touching the sky. So connecting the different dimensions, the tree being the center, me being the center. Also a lot of representation with snakes and water transforming into form like a snake, the snake going out to spread the news and help alchemize this place. Also representative of the sand, alchemizing, and the fact that we're all children of dust. There's so much more to say. This is just a little nutshell. And I also wanted to just go back to the color purple, because the color purple is also representative of Polaris. Polaris is known as the North Star. That connection came to me later, but the Polaris that I work with is more than happy to be coupled up with that Polaris North Star image. And Polaris is a big white ram of a bull with big purple horns, not red like in stories I've heard of with outer worldly cows and whatnot, but specifically purple. And I haven't found anything out there yet. If you know, please leave in the comments of a white bull of a ram with big purple horns. That's Polaris. And he's a protector. He works with the moon energy because of his horns. And even though he's masculine, he has a feminine side to him that he embraces when it's time to embrace it. Toby, the color brown, he's also a masculine, but when it's time to take on that tree of life form, he takes on the role of the feminine. And so they're always changing it up a little bit. And as I grow and alchemize, their roles are also growing and alchemizing. And when I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, it's because there's another spirit guide that's presenting themselves, or maybe there's somebody that I haven't heard from in a while that is now chiming in. It depends how my own storyline is going through my dream journal. The color pink, I'm represented as this pink lightning bolt. So when I'm drawing pictures of myself, I'm the one who cracks the sky, and that's the pink lightning bolt. And when I draw pictures of myself, I draw these little like Pac-Man images. And I've often will draw myself black, and I'll put horns on myself because I come from Polaris. I come from this purple dragon tribe that seemingly is black, but we're not, we're purple. And we do come from that black side of the yin yang, the shadow side. And so I was getting upgraded, and I was changing the color of my horns, and my horns were now pink. And you know, Glinda, the good witch from the Wizard of Oz, that's me. So I'm like this, in my dream journal, this big pink bubble of Glinda the witch energy, if you will. And that energy can be quite fierce. And in a past life, I was an exorcist, and it was a bit scary, some of the species that I dealt with. And yet at that time in that life, I had this ability where I would just laugh it off because I had such a strong biology of belief in myself. And the people who summoned me, their biology of belief in me is what gave me the magic. And so the demons, the ailments, if you will, that I worked with had zero power. And that crack, that laughter, that crack in the sky is really representative of the color pink. And also the colors pink, orange, gold, brown, those are all sunset beach colors representative of me. The color blue, I don't, just regular blue, I don't use it too much, but I make it a point when I'm using the color blue to save the lighter blue for the blue beans and other things that I've talked about that it represents. And I'll use this blue for like regular blue stuff if I need it colored. At least not yet. It hasn't presented itself. Maybe next time I'll update you. This will have a special guide attached to it. The color black. Yes, the color black. I use the color black a lot. I'm learning that everything for me actually starts in the shadows, starts in that womb and tomb, starts in the black. And then as I gain perspective, I gain light, if you will, metaphorically. And then colors start to appear, like the color purple, the color orange, and so on and so forth. The color white, I just make it a point to use the color black, and I just won't color it in, and that's how I use the color white. The color white, I don't really use it actually. It's the color yellow and gold for me that represents the God, the universe, the Sophia tribe, the very beginning, the light where everything and nothing came from. And when I do my ritual work, each fingers have different representations. So when I'm choosing a card, depending on which finger that chooses it, there's different colors that I've assigned to my fingers, different elementals. Each hand's different. So it all has come together and continues to come together. And someday I'll talk about just my hands. Each element of my clipboard here, as you can see, is a book in itself. Each tool, a chapter in itself, really. I've got a permanent marker just for things on my clipboard that I really want to make sure I remember. I don't use it, I don't think at all when I'm drawing pictures or writing in my dream journal. I do use my pencil crayons on my clipboard. And that scratching sound that it makes is really powerful. When I first started writing on my clipboard, I swear it was like there were these energies around me that were like, like, what is she writing on there? You know, and sometimes it was like scary, like, what is she writing on there? And it really made me feel empowered. Like, yeah, I'm writing on my clipboard. And there's just so much to say. I keep a ruler with me handy. Because I like to draw straight lines every now and then to make it a point to have a triangle, or to make it a point that I want to connect this over here with that over there. And I don't just want it to be a random line. I want it to be an actual straight line. I also use it to measure, not the actual centimeters, but just to measure, like, where is this pointing, my gemstones? Is it pointing here or is it more here? And so having a ruler helps me with that. In my past life, when I was an exorcist, I thought it was the sign of the cross, but it wasn't. It was just a T-shape, 2 sticks. And that helped me have directional language: north, south, east, west, up, down, left, right, above, below, in front, behind. None of that stuff is real. All of that is illusion. However, for the sake of a common language and developing my own routine, it was handy for me just to, you know, is it in the south or is it more in the north? And just kind of playing like that, playing with the biology of belief. This also, in my past life, it was 2 sticks, was used as a dowser to help find water. I also used it for yes or no questions. And I also used it just to dig with, and just like a general tool. I used it for fishing, and I depending on the time period when people would summon me, I would fake that it was a cross, and I would be like booga 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 in the demons' faces, and the demons just went wildly angry because they knew that it was just two steps, right? They knew I was working with the biology of belief, that the client that I had who summoned me, that's what they thought it was, you know. So I have so much more to say just about past lives and whatnot. And one can see how all of this came together. And so I'm going to finish things off now by sharing with you my gemstones, which I found at the beach a handful of summers ago now. This was a rock that I found in my garden. Sometimes I draw pictures on it, and when I just want to be grounded, I'll hold on to it. Depending on what I'm doing, what I'm working with, who I'm working with, I'll have this rock or a designated gemstone or a designated crystal ball that I have. So right now I have this in here. Okay, so these I found at the beach. These I found at the beach. This one just came from my garden, or yeah, my garden at home. I bought this online. I totally got ripped off, just a piece of plastic. But again, working with the biology of belief, I use it as a dowser. It represents Toby. Depending on how it falls, it will depend if Toby's upside down or upside right. There's different meaning for that, if it's touching any other gemstones. And this is just a form of play, creation, where I had a lot of fun and some frustrations because I didn't always understand what was being communicated to me. And I also use it as an actual dowser to ask yes, no questions. And it was a lot of fun just gaining ground with it. I'll have to work on this little knot in just a moment. These three here, my sister gave these to me a number of years ago, just as like an extra stocking stuffer. Maybe it was a birthday gift, I don't remember, but it was from my sister. And Tara Wilde talks about Morgan Le Fay and the three sisters. And so I've adopted that belief working with the sister magic because it was from my sister. And there's just the two of us, but working with play, we're all sisters and brothers, right? We're all siblings, but this is specific to female sisters, the dark feminine, and depending on how these fall, it creates triangle shape. So again, that ruler that I showed you comes in handy. This rock here, I found it at the beach. It's the first and only heart-shaped rock that I've ever found, and it's representative of the dog monkey folk, who are God, the universe. They're the shadow of God, if you will. They're the first divide of the gray. So there's gray, the God, and then they're divided into black, white, the yin yang. And this is from the black side, which is the masculine side, that black dragon side, and the purple side. And I wrote this word how on there. And so depending if this is flipped this way or if it's flipped with the word how showing, depending on if it's facing inward or outwards or upward, it's representative of the dog monkey folks' footprint. So again, I've attached a lot of meaning to it. These other gemstones, this one here is representative of my dragon. And he's usually, he's supposed to be in the south. This one here is representative of the power animal snake. Snake is also in the south. This one is representative of eagle condor over here. in the east. And again, depending on if it's shaped like this or like this, it'll have different meanings to it. Same with snake. And let's say snake, for example, is way up here. Then that means the snake in me is out of alignment. It needs to be here. If eagle condor is down here, for example, it's out of alignment. It needs to be here. So again, depending on where the gemstones fall naturally when I'm doing my gemstone reading, and depending what questions I have and where the focus is, this triangle that gets created by these three helps out with that. And I also use these two purple gemstones, representative of Polaris's purple horns. And then I use this orange one here. And depending on the triangle shape that they make, will also provide insight about where I need to focus, because that's Polaris's main role is the focus. Where are we focusing, zoning in? This gemstone is representative of Manus. Manus is the praying mantis that I work with, who scribes all my stories for me. Depending where he falls, may or may not apply. It has to do with writing my story, taking charge of my life, making those edits. Hummingbird, I use this one just because it kind of looked like nectar or amber, representative of the high quality items hummingbird brings forth in the north. And I've also got jaguar represented here, jaguar in the west. And again, depending on how these stones are facing, if they're not in their spot, that gives me insight. This white stone here is representative of the mental plane. So the mental plane should be up here. The physical plane is down here. And then the emotional plane, whatever main rock I'm using or crystal ball, I place that where I feel is the biggest space. And so if you were my client, you would place it somewhere in this circle. And again, that would give me insight. This one here is representative of the goddesses specifically that I've worked with Tara Wild. So depending on where that falls will depend on certain things. This rock with the chip in it represents my family. Again, depending on what's going on in my life, it could represent my biological family here on planet Earth, my spirit family. It could represent my dance family. You know, families are communities we belong to, and they don't have to be blood biological. There's also a little piece. Initially, this rock, it chipped off and I lost the little piece. So this little rock is taking its place, and it's representative of the child. So when the child leaves the nest, the child could be me, Gina, today, present day Gina. It could be an actual inner child. It could be a past life child, Gina. It could even represent an old idea, like a childish idea, or genuine child thinking, something that was premature. This rock recently presented itself as the Wise and Well Whale and Orca Elders. So there's like a crescent moon shape. That's the shape of the pupil of whales. Whales' pupils are this shape. So that was really special to me. This white rock is representative of the divine feminine. After I read the book, the Sophia Code, this rock just spoke to me. And on this side, there's just a little black mark on it. It's stained from when I put it in the soil. And this one here is just, there's no black. So it lets me know if it's the dark feminine or the light feminine. And again, depending on where it falls, can mean different things. This rock here recently presented itself to me. I belong to a committee. I invented it. It's called The Ones Who Listen. And it was a very lonely committee. And then recently I was told that I am being listened to and that I'm listening to others, hence the Wise and Well, Whale and Orca elders. And the Wise and Well, Whale and Orca elders gave me this gift of sight to see beyond vision. And there's a coming together between the committee of the ones who see and the committee of the ones who listen. And this one reminds me of a dog ear. It's cut on this side. And so depending on where this dog ear is and if it's flipped, it lets me know if the committee is tuning in or not. And if they're not, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It might just mean the focus is on someone else, or maybe I need to listen to them instead of me listening. I need to listen to them instead of them listening to me. Okay, so these other gemstones have not presented themselves yet. I don't know what they mean. So when I'm doing my gemstone reading, all of these get mixed. I do special words and whatnot. I create a circle, and then I'll tell the client or myself, this needs to go in a space. It doesn't have to be the biggest space. It could be the smallest space, but whatever space you think needs support. So if I think here needs support, that'll tell me where there's insight that needs to be gained. And so I just have so much more to say. That's a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit of insight about my ritual clipboard, some safety tips, where I got my ideas from. Thankful for the late Ted Andrews for inspiring me to take ideas, borrow them, and make them my own. And just the reflection about my career as a public school teacher, taking all those high quality items with me to be creative, working with tools, seeing yourself as the tool, not getting hung up on what's pretty or fancy, not the latest trends, and really emphasizing to work with what you have. And the number one thing you have is you. So there you go. If you'd like to be a guest on PMHI Passions, send me a Facebook message. My Facebook name is Titanium Rooster, and I'm always looking for folks to share their stories. We're a story species. Stories are medicine. Till next time, have a good day.